concept which can change the way you work, the way you achieve, and the way you go about your working style. It is a concept which we evolved as we worked. It is not in any book. It was not taught to us by any MBA schools or given to us by any consultant. It came about as we worked hard and found it extremely difficult to manage multiple projects with multiple teams across India. And then in one of our learning sessions, which we used to have once in 6 months in Pune, we discovered this concept as we were going about for finding out a way to solve this problem. It came about very simply because in any project or anything you want to do, the first thing which you have to do is to align people. If you do not align people, we cannot achieve any goals. One of the greatest strengths of the great leaders of the world has been alignment. Have you listened to the speech of Martin Luther King when he said, we have a dream? He aligned people to his dream. At the same time, Gandhi did not talk much, but through his process of Satyagraha, he aligned the people of India to work with him. So alignment is a key part of success. And as young leaders, many of us did not know how to bring about this alignment. We thought it would automatically happen. We thought once we said, people will follow. So this is one thing we said we need to do. And another thing we found was that we were not having uniform plan across India, and people did not know have uniform plan and did not monitor it correctly. Training was also lacking with some of us, and some of us had to be trained to go to the next higher level. And when we get stuck with a problem, people always came to the top, and it became very difficult to implement projects, multiple projects with all things coming to the top. And as you know, the people at the top are at the most disadvantaged position to implement, to actually find a solution at the problem. The problem at the field has to be found, solution has to be found at the point of the problem. So there is greater alignment, people understand it, and they also go about implementing it. The third aspect of what we have to do was to how do you enable people. In enabling people, we thought we had to actually motivate them so that they go about their goals, and also train them. So these are the three concepts, various things which came about. And then we thought about how to put it together so that it becomes a product which all of us can not only use it, but also teach it and also scale it across India. And then we came with the acronym which was called Align, Configure and Enable. It is called ACE. It is depicted very, very nicely. We will show the document to you. So it is called Align, Configure and Enable. Alignment comes out of discussion with people. First part in alignment is discussion, getting a discussion, and then get a commitment from the people. You have to call your team, you have to listen to them, tell them what are your goals, and find out what are their constraints, and see how to solve them, support them, get their sign off, and achieve a goal which is mutually acceptable to you and them. It might not be the goal what you wanted, not the goal they wanted. It will be somewhere in between, which actually pushes them and also asks you to make some compromises. And both sides were happy at the end of the day, and both of them committed on their goals. Normally what happens when we give targets to people, their targets are with them. You talk to a person in Calcutta and tell him, boss, you have to do so much numbers. He says, yes. But none of his team members accept the target. So what is happening is the target is lying in his table without being deployed. So there's absolutely no chance of success. Now, this is what we discovered in many parts which was happening, and we ensured that the targets which were held by people were not held by the people, but was drilled down to the bottommost level. And this enabled us to do so. And so much so over a period of time where some of the people, we are not able to do it across India, but those are the people who were committed, made sure that these targets were broken down and also went up to the dealer sales payment at the dealership level. And this was a great success. People who followed this achieved great results, and they continue to do so. And they shared many of their successes in the shared learning program which we used to have. And after alignment came configure. Configure is how do you go about executing your job. Once you have aligned, you have your goal, you have to achieve the goal. And the most important part of any execution is how do you plan. And we followed a very simple format which is followed in most engineering companies. It is called Plan, Do, Check and Act. It is called PDCA. And you plan, you do it, you check and you monitor. And the more often you do PDCA, the more times you get to correct yourself. Actually, if you review and take corrective action only once a year, you correct yourself only once a year. On the other hand, if you're able to do it 15 times, once in 15 days, you're able to do it 24 times. So that is the principle of PDCA, which we also taught people. They then started taking it seriously and found out what was the way they could change. And this was implemented through a simple format called 5W1H. It said what has to be done, who has to be done, when has to be done, why it has to be done, and how it has to be done. So all the team members had a sheet like this, and the project had a sheet like this. So all converged to a goal. And this was a format in which we reviewed, and it was to a great success. So after we had done this, is when we came into the problem that when we went about implementing it, we came into certain difficulties we incurred, and that is where we came with innovation. Innovation, when people came about and had blocks, we encouraged them to find solutions on their own. And we were there to help, we were there to facilitate, but ultimately it was your call. So when we pushed it down, you did use the tool, take decisions, sometimes made mistakes, sometimes they did brilliant changes, but learned and went about. So many of the things which came up and got stuck at a higher level did not do so. It was there, we did not try, they did not pass the buck, nor did we push it back to them. We said how it could be solved, but the way of solving it and how we are going to solve it has to be with them and not to be with us. And over a period of time, we achieved all alignment and configured. So we are able to run multiple projects across the country because each were independent teams, given their set of objectives, their set of support, and each of them working independently and only looking at us to see how we can facilitate them to achieve goals. So we are able to do large number of projects at multiple locations with each project manager taking accountability for the results and continuing to take decisions and make this a grand success. We only had a steering meeting once in 15 days to review those projects which were not doing well and to talk to those people who are doing well to see how they can do better. The way we went about, the leaders went about talking to their people were only 3 or 4 questions. What are your targets? Where are you? What did you learn? How can I be there to help you? These were the 3 questions we asked. And they went about, it was a very simple question. We wanted to find out were people clear about their targets. What was their learning about their project means, whether they were, how involved they were and whether they understood their projects. And how can I help you? Is there any way we can say that we can help them? And we politely told them the onus of achieving the targets is with them. So this way of handling the whole situation helped. And the third thing came enable people. The enable actually consisted of 2 parts, that how do you train people? The train people is to acquire the necessary skills for them to do their current jobs well. And how do you make them do their future jobs also well? The current jobs, we thought we will actually engage some consultants or trainers to do it, but we felt it is better that we train ourselves. If we have to make our people do their jobs, the most important thing is that we train them so that we know how to do the jobs. So we had a standard manual, and many of us went down to the field, trained people on what they were supposed to do, and in the process some of the people became good trainers, and they actually went about training many other people. And then we had a very simple way. Whatever we train, you have to understand there is a small test, then we have to see how to apply it, and then you have to go about doing it in your job, and every month it is monitored. So people, and some people who did and had the potential, we actually sent them to programs in the best of the management institutes. Some of them took a sabbatical and went there and studied. Some of them, I think, even went abroad. And few of them went to great institutes and did a part-time program, some of an online program with the content. And this is not only helpful in their jobs at that point in time, and it's also today helping them in their career. And the third and most important part is motivation. In sales, most people think motivation is what you say that, you've done a good job, great job, so you give a medal every once a week, once in a month, and then everybody is happy. Yes, that is a standard format of the program. But if you really look at in any sales program, only any sales company, only 20% of the people get rewarded. And what about the rest? Haven't they worked? Haven't they worked very hard? Haven't they worked as a team? So the purpose of motivation is not to bring about a competition among the people to say, hey, these guys have done well, you're not done well. It is to see how to collectively encourage people so the performance goes up. So what we decided was that the awards we give should cover 70 to 80% of the people, because all of them in some way or the other were involved in doing projects, and they should be rewarded. And the 20% of the people, we couldn't always reward everybody for the sake of rewarding. And this really increased the motivation level of people, and all of them came together. So instead of competing with each other to achieve the top goal, all of them started working together, and it became collaboration. This principle we actually learned from many of these marketing directing companies, like Amway, where they actually give a lot of rewards. The only thing they do is rewards. You look at army, why do people fight very hard? It is only because of the recognition they get, and they feel proud of having worked for the company. So motivation is a very key point to success. And one thing you have to learn is it is not about giving rewards to recognize only the top, but it is to give awards to recognize the bulk of their teams, so that who are working very hard, the people who are at the supporting end level, so that all of them are recognized and they continue to work even more. And this comes about another important part of sales you have to understand. Sales is a very lonely job. You are only known by the last 1 month. You will go through a difficult patch. It can last for 6 months, it can last for a year. And that was the time nobody recognizes that you were a star performer for the last 6 months. 1 month bad, everybody looks at you oddly. 2 months bad, they start murmuring behind the month. 3rd month, they start murmuring. And beyond 6 months, they say this guy is looking out for his job. This not only happens at the middle and the lower level, but believe me, it happens even at the higher level. That is why if you see in sales and in marketing, you take automobile company, who has been the head of sales and marketing in automobile country beyond 5 years? It is just not possible. The stress is very high. So either people move up or they move out. Because during the 5 years, there comes a time when the headwinds are against you, and no amount of intelligence, your strategy, or excellent good people will work. Because ultimately, in an industry like automobiles, it is the product which sells and it's the customer who buys. We can only facilitate in between and take the right calls and put the network in place. The product is the king, we only facilitate it. And if neither the product is, and if you have a product problem, or competition comes with a new product or something else happen in the market, we cannot be control of it all the time. It takes us time to respond. It takes us time to bring a product to the new market. And so, if you actually look, many of them lose their jobs. So it becomes very, very important at this stage to actually pick out people who are actually not doing well because of things beyond their control, and sometimes due to personal problems, to see how to mentor them, monitor them, to see them through the back patch and pull them along with you. And in this process, many of us took this, and in the process we are able to actually get many good people, or a few good people, to continue to work with us. Though their performance was not good for about 3 to 4 months, we worked with them, we mentored them, and then they turned out to be good. And once they have gone through the cycle of up and down and up, then they are on their own. They know when an up is coming, they have their feet in the ground saying, boss, we will go down. So when the things go bad, they don't feel completely and totally demotivated. They know, you continue to work hard, it will go up. And here, before we end, I would like to say one important aspect. Sunil Gavaskar actually described this very, very nicely. He said, there was a lot of discussion about form in cricket. This guy is in a great form, I'm not in a good form, I'm going through a bad patch. He says, when you actually have a few bad innings, what happens is that you slightly start to, slightly start to be down. And when you face bowlers, he says your body and the legs are stiff. You are not free. You're stiff because your body is stiff because you are stressed. So you take a little longer to move your foot forward. A little longer, maybe a quarter of a second or 100th of a second to move forward and hit the ball. And that is enough to either get a nick or get you out. So this is how stress and demotivation happens in sports. And there are people, specialists, I think, who work with these players to see they are excited about before they go to the goal. We cannot afford that in sales and marketing. So all of us have to look out for each other. The leaders have to look after for themselves, sometimes among themselves, peers, and sometimes even subordinates. So we have to work like a football team or a cricket ball team or a football or whatever sports team, edging on and working together to achieve great goals. So it has been great talking to you guys. So again, I'm going to repeat it. This product of execution consists of three parts. One, it is called align. Second is called configure. And third is called enable. Okay. Align consists of discussion and commitment. Configure consists of PDCA and innovate. And enable consists of training and motivation. So it will be good if I can put this in a drawing and show it to you. So let me see what I can do. Just wait a minute. So I think you can see it. It is called ACE. Can I see it? Yeah, it is called ACE. This ACE consists of, one is discuss. So are you clear? ACE. ACE consists of discuss and commit. Configure consists of PDCA and innovate. And enable consists of train and motivate. And this is what will take you very far. This actually comes in a round. This actually what we do is that we put a round. This is called align. Okay, then this comes by align, configure. And here comes this is, have you got it? This is the config, align, enable, configure. This actually goes in a circle like this. And align is commit, discuss, plus commit. And configure is PDCA plus innovate. And enable is train and motivate. I'm purposely taking time to write this. Maybe it is not, it is just handwritten, but you have to remember this. If you remember this, I think you